An immersive art song experience is set to take the stage at the Desautels Concert Hall this weekend. Flipside Opera and Art Song Collective, in collaboration with the Women's Musical Club of Winnipeg, presents Love Languages, Songs and Pictures on Wolf's Italienisches Liederbuch this coming Saturday night at 7:30. The concert is unique in a couple of ways. Not only will it present all 46 of Hugo Wolf's songs in one amazing night, but it also features original, whimsical illustrations by soprano and artist Ana Toumine as a visual representation of every facet of love you can think of. The performers that Toumine's visuals accompany are pianist Lisa Rumpel, baritone Clarence Frazer, and soprano Tracy Dahl. All four of the performers of Love Languages join me in the Classic 107 studios this morning. Hello to you all.
Hello.
Good morning.
Good morning.
So maybe we can start with you, Tracy, to say, how would you describe Wolf's takes on love?
Temperamental, very immediate. It's very unlike a lot of German lieder where it takes a long time to express an emotion, or it is one whole song is one emotion. There is a huge arc in every song. And so I feel like it's really more like reading someone's diary than reading poetry.
That seems like a very immediate sort of experience to have. Clarence, what is it like to be in that sort of immediate sort of love space versus maybe singing something that's a bit more poetic?
You're definitely never questioning how your character in any particular song feels, or in our case, how we're sort of have woven a story throughout the whole thing. So how Tracy will deliver certain poems and things to me, I definitely know how the character is feeling about me at any given time. And I think it's just, it being so short. Yeah, he's just very direct. With everything, with the musical language, how he sets the text, with the piano as well. I think just everything is so clear. Nothing is really left to the imagination. You sort of get everything right there.
Well, especially if you've got visual representations that aid with that imagination. And I want to ask you about that, Ana, in just a second. But first, maybe to Lisa, how you talked about that musical language a little bit, Clarence, and I want to maybe you can elaborate a little bit on how Wolf illustrates love in the musical structure of the Italienisches Liederbuch, and especially how he puts it into the piano parts.
Right. Well, as Tracy said, it's direct and they're all very short. Like some of the songs are about 40 seconds long. I think the longest song is three pages, which for German Lied is like really short. There's a ton of detail packed into those couple of pages. Sometimes one page. There's so many dynamic markings and articulation markings, and the way and the rhythms are often very complex as well, but it doesn't sound like that. Like as you're learning it, you're like, oh my goodness, there's just a pile of detail packed into this one small space. But when you listen to it, it just all makes perfect sense because the emotional content is just like so clear and immediate. Yeah.
There
That's
are,
my favorite word.
yeah, immediate. I like it. There is a lot of immediacy to get into, though, with this cycle. Mentioned 46 songs is a lot of songs. And these songs that are contained in the Italienisches Liederbuch are not often performed all in one get-go. Maybe, Clarence, you can talk about some of the challenges to taking on this massive collection of songs all at once. What are some maybe special considerations that you have to factor in as a performer if that many songs are on the docket?
Yeah, I think you have to manage the emotions, I think, because it just takes you on quite a ride. Even though these songs are really small, I find each one, it packs a punch. And it's like its own little drama, which is quite intense. And so if, you have to sort of see how each one fits in the overall arc of how we're presenting it, and sort of like know where to give, know where to back off emotionally, dramatically, singing-wise is obvious. That's obvious. But
right.
But yeah, and just sort of have an idea of where you're going overall from the start. And that's been a wonderful thing, actually. We've been working with Jackie Lowen, who's sort of helped us piece together this thread through the whole thing. And it's sort of really come together for me and help me now really sort of see a clear picture of the path that we're taking. And it just helps with pacing and everything, and sort of the story in my own mind and where I'm going.
Yeah, Jackie Lowen, a stage director here in the city of Winnipeg that is no stranger to opera audiences. How does that kind of approach, maybe again to you, Clarence, help to clarify the language of art song and the way that it's being presented at the Desautels Concert Hall?
Oh, I love it. I love art song. I wish I could do more of it. I've predominantly done opera in the last little bit. So I love that work with a director and digging into the character and sort of finding an arc and how you fit into the story and how you fit in relation to all the other characters. So it's actually been really nice to really get into that kind of detail with a director in art song, because it's not something that we do a lot.
I was going to say, Tracy, what have you made of this experience working with a director on these songs?
Well, one of the things I would say that maybe people don't know is like the depth of work that happens inside German Lieder. You think, oh, these are little short songs and it's not an opera and there's no plot. Well, I think it is that wouldn't be true for me anyways, and it doesn't sound like it is for Clarence. And I know when I'm in my work with Lisa, there was so much in-depth work about why is that music that way? Why does it crescendo and then suddenly go piano? Well, I am just pushing down every bit of anger, and it comes back up again, but the piano starts to shows your temperament. What Jackie offers for us is kind of that overarching storyline, because I can take some of these songs and do them. One of the songs in particular we talked about in our rehearsal the other day, and she said, but Tracy, if you're going to get back together with this person, you can't say it exactly that way. Like, I don't care if you ever come back. It has to be more of a test. I'm going to say I don't care about you, but I really do. But if you isolate the song, you could do it like, this is the last time I ever want to see your face. Mm-hmm. And trust me, there are things in this song cycle that's basically what you're saying. And you think German Lieder starting with shut up. But that's what it is. There's one song that says, shut up. Like, just stop singing. You sound like a donkey. And what's so wonderful is that because she has the ability to be on the outside, and it is always important as an artist to have an outside eye, because we're too close. You need someone on the outside, and whether that's when you're collaborating, your collaborative pianist going, I don't think we're on the same page. We've been in that place too. I don't think we're saying the same conversation here. So you get into conversations about the poetry, and you just really dive deep. So having that external eye, and it was in our first meeting on Monday where Jackie said, you know what, let's really try to make this the same couple from beginning to end. And we did. And I think it's going to work. And it's, it's all about, but it does change your perspective on the interpretation. It makes a difference. Mm-hmm. So having that direction and that option is really fantastic.
Yeah.
And if I could just add.
Oh my goodness, we haven't even said hello to Ana yet.
Yeah, hello. I was just gonna say it's actually like a really interesting juxtaposition as well, because the images. When Lisa approached me, she said, "Okay, find 46 different character. Well, actually, whatever that is times 2, 92 characters, different foods. Okay, so our images are different little vignettes while this through story is going through as well. So like there's a lot to take in for sure in those like 40 seconds. And honestly, it's making me think of how relevant that is to our modern age, like on the internet TikTok, Instagram, all these shorts and reels. And so it's kind of bringing that addictive nature to like, well, what's going to happen next? What's going to happen next?
That's a really interesting perspective, modern perspective. And I have to ask here, Ana, because you're contributing the visual elements to this production. How do you approach something that is so short form, these little emotional punches that Clarence was talking about before? How do you approach those and turn them into these visual program notes, I think that they've been described as?
Yeah, well, I had a lot of context, thankfully, from Lisa. I was, the food, and then I really did have to look at them as like little snapshots, little like like I said, vignettes to just go, okay, I mean, at that point, I didn't know about a through story or anything. So I was thinking, like, how could you look at this if it was an isolated piece or you took it away? Because there are many different, and, you know, it is very direct and emotionally and all of that. But we were also trying to kind of bring like a little bit of like a cute vibe, I guess. Yeah. The kind of reference images and all of that were very sweet. So I do think it's really interesting, you know, once I finished the paintings and listened back through with the music, like the music is so textured and has like so many layers inside of it. So when you're listening to it and you've got these images that are quite playful, it kind of like does something in your head a little bit that you're going, okay, wait, how could I see this as this playful thing as well? So it's got that kind of like humor and directness in it as well. So
yeah. What do you think your medium, the paintings, say about this kind of relationship between the two singers and the pianist that maybe other visual art mediums wouldn't be able to capture?
Yeah, I mean, I'm basically playing with cartoons here, so it's really great, and it was really neat the other day at the concept meeting. You know, Jackie kept saying, like, this commedia dell'arte idea, and, like, that is sitcoms, that is cartoons, and so, you know, you're really able to take these little characters and stretch them to their fullest potential, like with the shut up. It's like, really, like, shut up. Or, like, you know, there's some really loving ones, and there's also some really, like, you can't, let's say, I don't know what a good word for violence is, but like there's like that one with like the knife and the strangling and things like that. So, but you couldn't really do that with people in the same capacity unless it was an extremely dramatic opera, you know? And so it kind of brings that topic in without making it crazy heavy. It still keeps it in a humorous place, you know, of just like this turmoil of love and like, angst. So
you had to be at knife and strangling. Maybe back to you, Clarence, briefly. What do you take away from the visual elements that Ana has created, and how does that inform your own performance in a way that maybe if it was just a standalone musical event, you wouldn't necessarily get the same color?
Yeah, it just, I suppose it just gave me a different perspective of how to look at my pieces or the whole thing. Just and like they said, you know, this cute element. I mean, they are very cute. These little cartoons, and I don't know. I love food. I'm a huge, like, I love to cook. Yeah. So going through them and seeing them the way, like, in the eyes of food. I don't know. It just sort of, you know, it's a huge undertaking. It's a huge responsibility with this work because, I mean, it's brilliant in so many ways. And it's so well known, and then to do it in its entirety, it's a massive project, and so there's just lots of intensity that goes on when you're learning and you're going through them, and so finally when we got the booklet, it was kind of like a really nice sort of way to just relax and sort of be entertained within my own learning, and just sort of collaborating that way and seeing the interpretations of like, oh, look at like sort of like the look at this spring onion and how it's like looking at that spring onion and reaching out with its two sprigs, which are probably arms, and then the other one has their two sprigs behind. You know, it just gave me a whole other perspective, fresh perspective, and sort of fun, lightness. Cute, new lightness to the intensity of what, you know, I'd been going through on my own with them.
Okay, Tracy, I was even going to say, just quickly before we turn to you, Lisa, I was going to ask what your impressions were when you first saw those
It was when you
images.
were talking about the onion sprigs that I was thinking about the body posture of the sausage.
Right, yes.
It's one of my favorites. There's just one where the sausage just looks like completely deflated. It's so funny. I think one of the things that is interesting about this set, because it is Italian poetry that was translated into German, is that the thing that you, like, if this was German, like first German, you'd be going, okay, this is Wagnerian. But because it's Italian, where you've got fiery personalities who really will have a good fight and then make up and make love right next to it, right? It's that Jackie said the act of love and the act of murder are that close to one another, that passion. So the Italian passion is just really out there. And I feel like that the pictures help us remember that it is not the end of the world, that it is a moment in time. And sometimes 46 seconds in time.
Yeah, right, exactly. Lisa, what do you think audiences will take away from this experience of the Italienisches Liederbuch that they wouldn't get if they were merely presented with the music?
Well, sort of the intention behind, and I just want to explain the food that we keep alluding to.
The reason,
the reason that we asked Ana to use foods is that, for one thing, it takes away kind of the heteronormativity of this set. It's traditionally done with a man and a woman who are in a loving relationship of some kind. And so we kind of wanted to remove that as part of it. And so obviously we chose to use an Italian food and a German food as a nod to these linguistic origins of the poetry. So that's what that's all about. And and I thought that images would be a nice element to have, because if you don't feel like reading an entire poem, then you can just look at the picture and take your own interpretation out of that. And again, Jackie should be here. We keep talking about her. But yesterday she said that our interpretation that we get to doesn't have to be the same thing that the audience gets to. But this way, I think we're giving them another way of, they have the music, they have these incredible acting singers, and they have a picture, plus they have an English translation. So all of that information, it's 4 different ways of learning or of understanding. And so they can draw their own conclusions that way. And also, it is just the fun element. As you know, at Flipside, what our goal always is to make classical music feel fun and approachable and not like something that you're not part of. It's a thing that everyone is part of, or can be if they want to. And of course, loving relationships are something, whether it's your parents or your children or a intimate relationship partner, we all have that experience. And whether we express ourselves quite this way to our partners, which we might not, we can all relate to all these stories.
Sure. Maybe leave the strangling and the knives at the office.
Yeah, that's a little much. We have, our Germanic origins here are pretty strong.
So many things to experience with Love Languages this coming Saturday night. And we're so excited for it. Tracy, Clarence, Lisa, and Ana, thank you so much for joining me in the Classic 107 studios to tell us more about the concert.
Thank you so much.
Thanks for having us.